What's up? This is EJ Stewart. All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Well, how the turntables have. Rest in peace to all my ops. This crap is crap.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days and Counting, where I do 2 live streaming shows per week. One, this edition, Tuesday, 6 p.m. 1, Friday, 8 a.m. This is, of course, a Tuesday evening edition. And we have a lot to get to on today's show. We're going to be talking about plenty. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics. We're going to be talking about the World Cup, because that is concluded. We have our official world champion. Spain has won their second ever World Cup, beating Argentina in what was a very interesting match. And there was some interesting events happening after the match, so we'll get into all the details with that, as again we have our world champions, the Spaniards are the new World Cup champions. We also will talk about what was a tough day at ESPN. There was some pretty big layoffs that happened at ESPN, some high profile names, people you will be familiar with, people you've seen on various different shows of theirs. They have been laid off, and there's been reports happening throughout the day, and I'm not sure if there are any more coming, but we've seen quite a bit of them throughout the day about some of the names that'll be leaving ESPN. So I'll have some brief thoughts on that. We also got to talk about the king, LeBron James, because we still don't have a decision, and from the likes of it, it appears we won't have a decision anytime soon when it comes to what he's going to do in free agency. We got to talk about Tom Brady, because he is back in the news in ways in which I never would have expected to be talking about Tom Brady. But this is who Tom Brady has become in his post-retirement world, so we'll get into that. I'm going to talk some more about this Avengers Doomsday trailer that came out. By the way, if you are looking for Avengers Doomsday content, you're in the right place, because you will get some of that on this episode. But I'll be remiss not to mention that you should check out the latest episode of New Generation Hero Talk, where myself, my brothers, Shamari, and Kendall Stewart, we all did a full breakdown of the trailer, our thoughts on the trailer, the news coming out of the trailer, and what we can expect from Avengers Doomsday now that we've finally seen some footage from the movie. So make sure you check out New Generation Hero Talk. It is right here on the New Generation Media YouTube channel. The podcast was posted earlier today. And of course, you can get the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. So we'll talk more Avengers Doomsday today. So massive numbers in terms of the viewership for this trailer that dropped more than 500 viewers within a 24-hour span. So I think that suggests there's a lot of excitement for this film. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. 40 Days and Counting, streaming live multiple spots, including live on YouTube. Again, we're on New Generation Media's YouTube channel. Thanks to those always checking us out on YouTube. You want to get into the conversation, jump into the chat. I respond to all comments in the chat, so get in. If you want to talk about anything that's not on the docket for today, you want to bring my attention to something, that is the place to interact with this show. Get into the YouTube chat. Again, we're streaming live, New Generation Media. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. We're also streaming live today on X. I don't know why. I don't know what changed today. I don't know what was in the algorithm, what was in the air, but for some reason we are streaming live on X. I'll be honest, today I was actually thinking about maybe just kicking the bucket on X and just moving on, but we are live on X today. So if you're watching on X, shout out to the folks on X. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for checking me out. We're streaming live there, so if you want to comment there as well, those comments typically find a way into my YouTube stream or into my comment stream as well. So shout out to the folks again checking us out on X. We greatly appreciate that. Also live on Instagram. That one I was a little late on. I had to hit the button just now, but we are live on Instagram right now, so that's exciting stuff as well. Shout out to the Instagram folks. Again, for X, EG_Stewards, where you'll find me on X. For the Instagram folks who want to watch me on IG Live, just search Action EJ on Instagram. And we are streaming live on Buzzer. Shout out to the Buzzer fam. If you're not signed up to Buzzer, make sure you go to bzzr.com or download the free-to-download Buzzer mobile app, BZZR mobile, and make sure you sign up there. Make sure you follow me, EJ205 Prep. Also, make sure you follow the New Generation Media page as well. So, 40 Days and Counting. This is going to be an exciting one. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a thrill. It's going to be a thrill.
Accusations!
These are not accusations.
So let's get to what we want to get to for the rest of the show. Let's begin with the World Cup. Because while it was a couple of days ago, it still will remain the biggest news in the world of sports for a little while because this is the biggest event, obviously, and it happened here in U.S. soil. Spain won its second ever World Cup, beating Argentina 1-0 in a game that went into added or extra time, and a game that, quite frankly, Spain really dominated. Right, like this is a 1-0 game or 1-0 win for Spain, but when you think about the discrepancy in the possession, the discrepancy in the amount of shots, Argentina went more than 90 to 100 minutes of this game without putting a shot on goal against Spain. It was Spain at its best. You know, if you've ever watched, whether you're for me growing up, I was watching the 2010 team, the last team to win the World Cup. And they had the Xavis and the Iniestas and so many of the talented midfielders and how they were able to just control games with their passing and control the pace of games and not allow your team to ever really get an opportunity to be aggressive to score. This is what Spain did against France, and they did it in an even more dominant way, even though this was a 1-0 win. They did it even a more dominant way against Argentina. Argentina just didn't ever seem to have really any offensive threat towards Spain because they just didn't get many opportunities, and when they had the ball in their chances, Spain's defense was airtight. Lionel Messi going up against a lot of young men who is I didn't realize it wasn't just the picture he had with Lamine Yamal of him being a baby. He has pictures with like all these guys when they were babies. I guess when you're that famous, when you're like the most famous man in Spain for as long as he was, because of his time, of course, playing with Barcelona where he was this phenom and then became this GOAT. Like, he has pictures with so many of these players when they were children or even babies. Like, I thought it was only Lamine Yamal, but it's crazy to see him in these events playing against these guys. And these are his guys who were taking pictures of when they were babies, but I gotta be real. Them babies who are now men, they locked them up. I mean, they really didn't give Messi much of an opportunity. He really wasn't able to put his impact and imprint on the game in any significant way. And despite all that, Argentina still had a shot. The game was still in the balance. This was a 0-0 game going into the second half of extra time. It made you think that, man, if Argentina can survive this, if they get the penalties, like this may end up being one of the most astonishing wins in World Cup final history for a team that basically couldn't get a shot on goal for the entire game to still find a way to get the PKs and then win would have been insane. But the problem with that happening was there was a huge red card that came down that put Argentina one man down. And so once that happened, it was essentially curtains for Argentina because they had trouble keeping Spain from scoring opportunities with 11 men. So once Enzo Fernandez got that second yellow card that became a red card, that was with 90 plus minutes. This is on the 93rd minute officially of the game. It seemed like it was only a matter of time. But by the way, I mean, Enzo Fernandez was in many ways the hero in the semifinal round, but you want to talk about some boneheaded play. The first yellow card he got was ridiculous. Like, this is an important game. He's getting a yellow card. He's trying to show up the ref. There was a ref maybe a little aggressive with it. I don't know. But, a game that was kind of getting out of hand. It was getting very physical. There was a lot of complaining. I think that was kind of in the NBA, how you kind of give a guy a tech, kind of just shut up people and get everybody kind of calm down. I think that's what that yellow card was supposed to be. Like, enough of the complaining, enough of the showing up the ref, like, play ball. So he gets this stupid yellow card, literally what had to have been like 10 minutes earlier. And not knowing that he's playing on a yellow card, he just runs in and just flips over bro from Spain. I mean, the guy looked like he ran into, the Incredible Hulk. And maybe there was a little embellishment, but it wasn't, he didn't have to embellish much. It was just a stupid play. It was a play that had to be given a card. So he got the second yellow card. Enzo Fernandez gets sent off. The Argentinian side is going ballistic. They were trying to get a card onto Spain because of a guy covering his mouth talking to Messi, which nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that card given something stupid like that. I don't care what the rules say. So once that happened, it really was going to put them behind the 8 ball. But for a second, you thought maybe this was going to be their chance to somehow get this to penalties because they played so well. Is not the right word, but they were just resilient. I mean, the goalie played really, really well. He was awesome. But at the end of the day, it was a Ferran Torres goal on just a beautiful pass from Williams. Beautiful header and he just laid it up for Torres perfectly, and Torres just absolutely struck it. That's Barcelona, one of their star strikers, making a huge play there, and that was it. And Spain won the World Cup. When you think about this team, it feels like this team ain't going nowhere. It kind of reminds me a lot of when France won in 2018, where you had this like very young team that maybe a year, maybe 4 years ahead of when you would think they should dominate a World Cup. They dominated a World Cup, and then they won obviously 4 years ago, or now 6 years ago, or 8 years ago. Right? Yeah, there you go. 8 years ago. I knew I'd get that right at some point. Dominated 8 years ago. The Spain team, they have a lot of guys in their prime and a lot of young guys. They had 2 teenagers out there playing. This is a team that I think you, like my friend Manny Rodriguez said coming into this game, why he picked Argentina, you think that maybe this will be a lights too bright situation for them, but that really wasn't the case. Outside of them not being able to score a goal for so much of this game, they played very well. They played like Spain. Argentina was a team that looked flustered, looked frustrated, and looked like they were completely outclassed, which is what they were. And even though this was not an embarrassing final score, this was not at all really a competitive game from that standpoint, because Argentina was very threatening. What I will say about Argentina, and I think for a lot of folks, they started to become villains of this tournament. To be clear, like it seemed like a lot of their fans were kind of, were a little extra and maybe a little inappropriate with some of how they were, some of the words and some of the things they were saying to various different countries and different people in the stands for these games. We had, I think, one of the, I think there may have been like a, I don't want to get this wrong because I don't want to do that. But I knew Mbappe was going to at somebody for issues with racism, but I don't think this was Argentina. I could be wrong though. Let me just double check before I just say this. No, so it wasn't Argentina. That was like some other country. Either way, but no, we had concerns about the fans, the players. Have been mouthy. They've been a little braggadocious, and they've played a game, and this game was part of that has been very physical and has gotten under people's skin, and it just like the revs up thing of the good calls they seem to get on their side, whether it was the red card against Switzerland, you want to talk about the disallowed goal against Egypt. It seemed like they continued to get great whistle. It seemed like their team didn't seem to really be quote unquote humble in terms of how they were going about these W's, and the fans at all were not humble, and they kind of became, I think for a lot of folks, villains of this tournament. Fair or unfair, that's just kind of how it went. They kind of earned that with how they acted after the game. I thought that how some of those players were swinging at guys, running on the field, tackling guys, and the same running the field. The Spanish bench players that were coming out to celebrate with their teammates. I mean, that video was pretty ugly. I thought of a lot of those, some of those Argentinian players taking swipes at them, tackling them to the ground. Some of the Spanish players trying to give congratulations, and it seemed like not only the players but the coach also seemed disinterested at all from hearing any kind of like, hey, good game, or any kind of good sportsmanship. I know we talk sportsmanship stuff can be a little overrated, but that they went out sorry. Like that they went out sad. That was a sad way for a champion to go out. A champion, I think, whether you liked them or hated them, I think you had a level of respect for what they were able to do that shows the level of resiliency they had to come back in so many of those games. To go out like chumps like that, you got outplayed, you got kind of dominated, you were lucky to be in the game, your stupidity cost you having 10 men on the field, and then you lost. You lose, you should take the loss, go home, and that's it. And their actions afterwards were outrageous to me. So I didn't, as much as for me, I was okay with Messi in terms of like supporting him and like this run he had. It was great to see him in in the tournament this late and in playing so well. This was kind of like a sour way to end. He wasn't any part of that nonsense because he's smart enough not to deal with act like these other idiots. But like Leandro Paredes and some of the guys, I just thought were way out of line with how they were acting after the game, and that was unfortunate. I don't think it just like ruined the game or ruined the sport or anything crazy like that, but I just thought it was a little bit of a damper on what was a entertaining game. Again, it was not a game that Argentina played particularly well, but they stuck in it, and you could have given them credit for saying, hey, you stuck in there even though you played a terrible game, and you almost don't even want to do that because of how they acted after the game. So that was, again, an unfortunate performance from Argentina. both during the game and after the game. I will say the goalie Martinez, he deserves a ton of credit. I mean, Argentina's goalie, I want to see if I can get the right exact numbers on how many saves he had, but I want to say he had he set a record, by the way. It was the most saves ever in the World Cup. Yeah, he had a World Cup final, rather. 11 saves. 11 saves. The only one he didn't make was one that I basically was impossible because of where it was set up. Spain had 12 shots on goal. Like, that's ridiculous. And again, to find a way to keep them in the game. I mean, if you're doing the analytics thing, which we've lamented in the NBA when it comes to expected scores and things like that, but they do this in soccer too. I mean, Spain was expected to score at least 2 goals in this game, according to analytics, based on how the game went, and they only scored 1. And Argentina was not expected to score a goal, given how they played, with the 35% possession. Again, 0 shots on goal, 0 big chances created, 0 big chances missed because there were no big chances created. Even the passing accuracy was low at 77%. Spain was at 89. Again, the game was the game. It's a 1-0 score, but this was an ass kicking, pretty much. They got it to extra time and almost made it interesting, but Spain prevails. Again, I'll be curious to watch Spain moving forward. Is this a team that can build onto this and win more World Cups? Because a lot of the guys on this team will be playing in the future. Like, this is not the end for these guys. Like, there are guys coming off the bench for Spain who are stars, who are just young, But, Pedri is a star for Barcelona, right? And Torres came in and scored, a huge goal. Marino had a huge play where he puts his face on the line, for a Messi shot that may have been a goal. We don't know. Marino's 30, but just they're so deep. They got so many young guys. They have so many guys who are in the prime of their career. So guys you expect that, okay, they won this one, but there's no reason in 4 years, a Danny Olmo won't still be somebody that could be a star in 4 years, potentially playing for Spain. Or maybe he gets supplanted by these young guys that are coming up. But this is a team that is great. Rodri won, of course, the FIFA World, the match man of the tournament reward, which is not surprising given his illustrious career. So you add another trophy to his thing. But no, the Spain team is legit. And again, there's no reason to think that they're not going to have even more of a chance to repeat, similar to Argentina, this time around. So congrats to Spain. I think we can give Spain a round of applause. I think that's accurate. I feel like Spain is a weird spot for Spain to be in. Like, I feel like in a lot of international tournaments, they kind of are the villains. I think for whatever reason in Spain, like there's a air of pretentiousness some people have of people from Spain for whatever reason. What I've told folks, for me knowing folks from Spain, is that like what you think is pretentious is people from Spain, people from Europe, period, that I've encountered, are very like blunt. Like they don't have like let me tamp down, especially when they're speaking like a second language. Let me tamp down whatever may feel tense about how I'm saying this, and they don't mean it by offense. They're just talking. But Spaniards I think tend to push the envelope far, and people are like they just say whatever the hell they feel, and it sometimes sounds harsh. It's like that's how they are, as I've learned. So it's kind of weird to see Spain be the team that like becomes like the darling of the tournament. But I think given they beat France, who I think a lot of people thought were going to be the favorites, and then you come and put it against this like team that looked like a team of destiny that was trying to go for back-to-back for the first time ever, they kind of became the darlings of this tournament. It'll be curious to see if they can keep that kind of darling-like feeling when the tournament shifts to what is going to be very interesting. A home tournament for the world champs, because the 2030 World Cup is going to take place in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, similar to how they did the U.S., Mexico, Canada this time around. So that's another dynamic of this that's going to make this very interesting, is with the World Cup moving to the home of the champs. That's going to be a huge advantage. Now, the good news, I think, for some of these, especially these European teams, is there's not going to be this massive time difference and getting used to being in an entirely different area. A lot of these guys that play for teams in France, that plays for France, England, Belgium, even some of these guys that play for Argentina and Brazil, like these guys live in Spain, like they play in Spain. So that's going to be, I think, maybe easier for them. It's not going to feel like you're in a foreign world playing in the U.S. or in some of the other countries, Qatar and stuff. But that's obviously a huge advantage to have, that you're going to have the champs, getting to play in their home turf, and every game they play, is going to be a seriously hostile environment. So can't wait for another World Cup. Some people say, man, like, this was so much fun, by the way. I think this was a fun tournament. I think it was a successful tournament by all fronts. There was weird stuff with it because of the nature of it being in America and this administration. But outside of that, I thought this was a great tournament. I thought that as Americans, how we embraced the visitors we had for the last month, I thought was pretty awesome, and I think showed the best of America. And I thought the tournament really lived up to the hype. Now, like I said when I talked about the Team USA elimination a couple weeks ago, do I think this is gonna, buoy some kind of like soccer renaissance here in the U.S.? I don't think that's happening. Like, I think fans now are just too savvy to know that watching the World Cup is a lot different than watching the MLS. So I don't expect that all of a sudden now you're going to have a bunch of people that are going to become MLS fans. And I'm sure there'll be some kids I can see maybe doing that a lot more. But I don't think that all of a sudden, and I'm not trying to at all disparage the MLS or try to, take money out of their pocket. I'm just being honest. I don't think you'll see what they've been calling for. A lot of the MLS commissioner was talking about it. Oh, like, we'll take the ball from here. Like, stick around for the MLS and watch our stretch run for the playoffs. I'm like, I'm sorry. Again, there's not going to be a Lamine Yamal. Messi is out there, so you will have Messi. That'll be fun. I'm sure maybe he'll take a couple weeks off, but, he'll be out there. But, I mean, there's no Yamal, there's no Mbappe, there's no Dembele, there's no Erling Haaland. Like, these are the guys people want to see. These are the guys that captivated a lot of Americans during this run. Maybe there's a chance that more will tap into La Liga, tap into the EPL this year, tap into the French league in a way that they didn't before. That maybe I could see. But do I think this is going to be the turning point for U.S. soccer? I think, like I've said, I think you needed a magical Cinderella run from the Americans that would have had to have been at least to the semifinal for that to happen. That didn't happen. So I think that kind of shifted the focus of people's attention from soccer, and they were ready to watch the semi and the final because it's such a huge deal. But that feeling of like soccer is not here to stay in the U.S. It's a great moment. I feel very happy for a lot of American soccer fans, soccer enthusiasts, people who work in the soccer industry to have this time here. This was special. Like, you realize, like, man, like, I don't know. Next time this happens again, I already got some gray. I'll probably be more gray and old and wrinkled by the time another World Cup comes to the U.S. But this was fun, and I'm glad I got to live through it. As I sit here, let me just I'm gonna change up the focus of my camera a little bit. There you go, look a little more clear. There you go. But shout out to Spain again. Congrats to them on the World Cup victory. Let's move on to some of the big news of today. And it's a weird day. It's not in terms of like sports news. We're kind of in the dog days of sports summer, but the biggest news of today actually ended up being news that had nothing to do with anybody on a field. But ESPN today announced that, well, they didn't announce, but reports have been coming out about mass layoffs that have indeed started to take place earlier today. So some high-profile figures that you've watched on ESPN are no longer going to be on ESPN moving forward. So ESPN's Ryan Clark, Bart Scott, Carl Ravitch, Stefania Bell. There was someone else, Cam Newton. Those are among some of the bigger name people I saw that were laid off as of right now. Again, apologies to anybody who may have been laid off. I didn't see them, but those were some of the biggest names I saw coming into today. And I say this, I didn't know. I actually didn't plan on talking about this at all. But part of me, I always say this is the most authentic version of me you'll get. So, industry me, maybe was like, maybe don't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but I'm trying to keep it 100, like I say. And this is something that's been on my mind all day today. So I think it would be inauthentic not to talk about the fact that this happened, because for a lot of you people who engage with sports content, engage with my content, ESPN is a staple, just like ESPN is a staple for me, as somebody who even works in the industry, but of course has to follow what's going on ESPN if I want to watch the SEC, if I want to watch, Miami football, if I want to watch Monday Night Football, like you have to watch ESPN, you have to be engaged with it, and it's definitely, again, a big part of Americana culture, and this was a big day. What I will say is the nature of the beast that is sports commentary and sports content is it has become very opinionated, and it has become a game centered around engagement. That's just the truth. And that's not even just sports. That's kind of almost anything. It's definitely permeated if you've watched local news, if you've watched reality TV, if you watch anything. Everything's about engagement. And the algorithm pushes controversy, pushes strong opinions, pushes polarizing people and views. So I say all that to say, I felt a little discouraged seeing so many people celebrating the firing of some of the commentators here. Whether it be a Ryan Clark, whether it be a Cam Newton, whether it be a Bart Scott. And listen, we're all going through tough times. Like, it's not a political statement to say the economy is not really working well for anybody. That's just the truth, right? You see the unemployment number, you see the amount of layoffs in various different companies, and there's different industries. It's just the reality. It is what it is. So I know because of maybe our receiving or your receiving, because we all receive people differently, how you may receive some of these commentators for mistakes that they have made that are legit mistakes and things that they shouldn't have done, or just strong opinions you don't agree with. I would have wished, especially for people who work in this industry, there would have been a lot more grace for a day like today when people are hearing some of the hardest news they'll hear for their career, and you think that this is the time to celebrate and to make jokes and to dance on people's graves. I am one of those people that kind of believes what goes around comes around, and I think, as a consumer, there may be folks I prefer to watch over others and whatever, but I think that we can't lose our humanity so much where when somebody loses their job, for a job that is, like, not that serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not related to, like, your individual teams. Like, it's not like, oh, like we say, like, oh, you should celebrate, the Packers coach getting fired, something like that. That's maybe a little different. Those guys are making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and, there is a level of, like, we know what time it is when you go into that kind of job. It's a hire to be fired kind of thing. The media industry, in theory, in like most jobs, shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be you're hired to be fired. And unfortunately, that's kind of some of the direction we've seen this going. I just think I would have liked to have thought that people would have had a little bit more sense to be like, okay, someone I disagree with or disliked or had beef with, okay, they got fired. All right, whatever. To celebrating for it, I just thought it was corny, man. I thought it was whack. And it's something that I think speaks to, again, the issue. Or, you can call it an issue. You can call it also is just, again, the reality of what is going on in sports and in media, in the media landscape. But some of the issue with, again, engagement, because that like, what's the word? Like that sentiment of, like, let me dance on somebody's grave who's been fired plays well to this social media algorithm, this engagement algorithm that they're all playing this game with. So there's incentive to be ghoulish. And then there's also, I think, because of our lack of humanity and connectiveness, this other incentive to also be ghoulish, because you don't actually feel the humanity that we've once maybe felt when we weren't all attached to a phone or a smart device or anything like that. So I say all that to say, man, like, as someone who's been through, a corporate mass layoff, a station going away, like, this day sucks, man. Like, this day sucks for anybody that has to go through it. For the people that are still at ESPN, there are a lot of folks that are having a tough time with this because their friends and colleagues and loved ones maybe even or now have been moved on from. And I just send all my love to everybody at ESPN who may have lost their job today or may be in danger moving forward. I don't know what the situations are beyond just today, but I just send only good well wishes and best of luck to all these folks. because it's one of those things. That's why I also find it weird. It's because it's one of those things where if you're in this industry, you should want ESPN to do well. Like, if you're in this industry, you should want. Now it's relative, right? Like, I worked for a radio station that at one point in time was in competition directly with ESPN because they were on an FM station. So there's like complications with it. But I'm talking about just like the overall, like hitting the microphone. The overall landscape of like a company and an entity. Like, you should want the ESPNs, the Fox Sports, the CBS Sports, any of these big industries. You should want them to do well. Because what that does is it creates a market for more sports to be consumed, more fans to want more content, which means more jobs, it means more opportunities, it means opportunities for independent folks to latch on and to also to branch off. Like, you could say, okay, cool, because people are so locked into ESPN's NBA content, I could do my own NBA content as well, because people may say, okay, there's only so much I could watch from ESPN. Like, all these things help. Like, it kind of reminds me of wrestling when, sometimes with wrestling fans, they'll be like, if you're an AEW fan, you'll celebrate something bad happening in WWE, or people being fired at WWE, or vice versa. In WWE, you celebrate people getting fired at AEW, and it's like, the wrestlers will tell you, no, it's best for all of us that all of us do well. We are in competition, but it's not that simple. Simply to be like, I hope they rot in hell. That's not how this really works. If you are supposed to be pro wrestlers, if you're pro wrestling and sports entertainment, I think a lot of times with sports media and sports content, it's the same thing. Like, you could dislike the ESPN, but I think a strong ESPN and a strong CBS and a strong NBC and a strong Fox, all these things, any of these things is great, is better for the fans, and is better for for people in the industry. Now, the fans may argue, listen, some of these people that are gone, it will make ESPN better, and we'll see. We'll have to see about that. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But I think as a whole, especially people in the industry, fans, whatever, fans are going to be how they're going to be. But people in the industry, I think y'all are better than that. Like, to be cheering people who have not, like, pushed some, like, crazy negative, like, truly abhorrent views or anything like that. They have strong views they may disagree with, but this is not like, again, these are folks who are somehow pushing views that are like reprehensible. Like, they're just, again, they may be views they disagree with. So the firings are tough, and again, I send my only my well wishes to everybody at ESPN, and I'll be curious to see just kind of like what ESPN looks like post these layoffs. Like, do these layoffs open up the opportunities for more high-end talent to be signed, or is this purely cost-cutting, and then they'll just spread out the people that they have currently? Does other people get elevated? Like, I'll be watching, because I'm a content creator. I work in the industry, but I'm also a fan as well, so I'll be curious to see what ends up happening. But again, all my thoughts and prayers to everybody working at ESPN who may have lost their jobs or anybody impacted, because these are days that are not fun. And anytime I see, regardless of the industry, regardless of the company, whenever I see that news drop of X amount of people being laid off today, just given what happened with Infinity Sports Network, like, I do get bad memories and bad thoughts. That was one of the worst days of my career, as it would be for anybody's career, So we love sports, we're passionate about it, we yell and we fight and we scream at each other, but let's not just completely lose our humanity in this, because it ain't worth that. Trust me. Shout out to everybody at ESPN. I do want to get back into the sports lane, though. If you're wondering if you could turn on ESPN soon and check out what the next steps are for LeBron James, I got bad news for you. You're not going to learn anything new, because the King apparently is... Oops, sorry, that's the wrong lower third. The King apparently is nowhere near close to making a decision on what his future is going to be moving forward. This was according to the agent for LeBron James, Rich Paul, who said LeBron James will not be rushed in making his free agent decision coming up. I guess imminently, but imminently didn't really sound like the words that Rich Paul would use. He was on his podcast that he does with Max Kellerman, and he said that essentially LeBron's not going to be rushed. He's going to take his time, and then he'll make a decision whenever. I saw Dave McMenamin posted literally right before I came on today that no decisions coming today. So there was rumors. I think Patrick Beverly was pushing, and I'm not dissing Pat, just saying that because he posted this, a lot of people were wondering if it was going to happen soon. I think he posted yesterday that LeBron James' a decision was going to be made like imminently, and that is not going to happen, according to Dave McMenamin of ESPN, who is usually pretty close and pretty spot on when it comes to reporting on all things LeBron. So we're still in the waiting game. And there's one thing I'll say about this for LeBron that I think is important for him to know. If he's going to do all this waiting to go to Philly, he better be careful. Because with Miami, who's desperate for talent, they got Giannis, but they don't got much else. He's played there before. He's won championships. He's a legend there. So if he goes there, even if they had to wait all this long time, I think it'll be whatever. For Cleveland, again, desperate. They've been embarrassed multiple years in a row now in the playoffs. Embarrassed last year in the Eastern Conference Final. Don't look close to winning a championship. They need LeBron. He's the hometown hero. He's a kid from Akron. He's the greatest Cavs player by far of all time. Like, okay, they'll wait 5 months for LeBron to sign with them. So, okay, whatever. Philly's a different town, man. And Philly will hold all things against you if you give them reason to, if you give them ammo. It's one of those things like when you get arrested where it's like anything you say can and will be used against you. Any moves related to Philadelphia can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion in the city of brotherly love. And if you're LeBron James, I'm already seeing it from the sentiment from the people who work in the industry in Philadelphia, the WIPs of the world. Shout out to my former boss, mentor, friend Spike Eskin. Shout out to Hugh Douglas's. Shout out to the folks on those stations that are very influential in the city. They're kind of getting their like pitchforks ready a little bit with like, not to say that they don't want him, but okay, they're gonna like kind of look at with a raised eyebrow if he tries to come in and tries to like kind of like act like he's so above the city and above the team. And I'll say this, even if he is, like, I've made the case how LeBron is very clearly not above the Knicks. He might be above the Sixers and above the city of Philadelphia. I'm being honest. He might be. They don't think that though. So it doesn't, regardless of what the national view is on this, or their conventional view on this would be, Philadelphia, they are born with a chip on their shoulder. So anything that could be perceived as a slight, they will use against you. And this is not a city that it's particularly kind to people who they perceive to be acting like prima donnas. And some of this holdout that we're having with LeBron in terms of making the decision, I think I'm seeing it. It is making folks feel like he's acting like a prima donna. There's not that much to be thought about in terms of making this decision. I mean, we learned at the beginning of this month. We learned right as the start of free agency. This was June 30th when we learned that you were not coming back to the Lakers. And, okay, I think Rich Paul is doing his job correctly. I would assume he would know the market pretty well. But, okay, let's say he wasn't. Or let's say maybe the Laker decision came kind of late and you didn't realize you'd be a free agent. Whatever the case may be. Okay, you had to talk to teams to figure out who wanted you. Okay, now you know who wants you. And at this point, it's not like LeBron is not visible. This guy was at every single show at the Jay-Z show. And listen, if I was Jay-Z's friend and was a billionaire or as rich as LeBron James is, I would have been to every one of them joints too. I'm not hating on him for wanting to go. But people are going to see LeBron being visible, going to these Jay-Z shows, going to Fanatics Fest, doing podcasts. He's creating content, which is not his main job, not his main source of income, and not where, while I think he has actually cultivated a really awesome viewership and fan base for the Money Game podcast, and I've mentioned that. That is not where a lot of people will care the most about what LeBron is going to be doing. They want to know what his decision is. It doesn't feel like he's doing this with any sense of urgency. And it strikes me as somebody who, again, I just don't know if the seriousness is there for him in terms of winning a championship if this is what he's doing. I can't wait to hear from him. Like, we only obviously mostly heard from Rich Paul, but I feel like the dynamic of this free agent story is kind of changed over time. Because remember, when this started, this was about LeBron feeling like, according to Rich Paul, that like he needed to go to a team with a real, actual chance at winning a championship, and he wanted to go to a place where he can play basketball and quote have fun again. Those two things seem kind of different, but they can be mutually exclusive, or they can be things that are connected depending on the spot. But as we've moved forward, we've heard Rich Paul say, LeBron say first, well, you won't have to wait much longer. He told that the CNBC boardroom, panel he was on, and then Rich Paul says today or yesterday, we're not gonna get rushed. Don't rush for LeBron to make a decision. Again, first it's I want to win a championship. Then Rich Paul says that LeBron's not ring chasing. I don't really know what his deal is. I don't know what he's trying to do, and I'm not owed to know what he's trying to do. But if I was a fan of one of these teams, I would feel a little bit like, come on, man. Like, do you want to be here or not? Like, what's actually going on? Like, what are you, like, are you contemplating retirement? I almost feel like if he was still contemplating retirement, I actually could understand this a little more. We know what the situations are. Joel Embiid's not going to, his knees aren't going to get any more healthier from today till next week. Cleveland is not going to become a spiraling metropolis from now until opening night. Miami is not going to be able to add 3 more All-Stars to a team that has been kind of gutted of talent. Like, these teams are who they are. Like, what at this point, what are we actually waiting for? What are we doing? And from a media standpoint, he better be careful if attention is what he wants. If he's trying to get like the absolute most attention possible, he wanted to get away from the World Cup. He wanted to get away from the other free agency stuff and say, I want my own week. He better be careful, because this is pretty much the last week he's got. Like, if attention is his thing, NFL training camp start next week, and I'm sorry, like, once these guys start rolling in the training camp, we're just off of NBA offseason stuff. Like, I just think people would have moved on. The day he announces where he's going to go will be a big deal, but I think it's going to be one of those things that kind of only last a day or two, and we move on from our lives. So I just don't really understand really the strategy at all from LeBron with why this is taking so long. Like, again, he could do whatever he wants, but what's so interesting is, again, he may not care, and that's fine. But I just always find it interesting when, like, people will say, well, he's the king, he's the greatest, he can do whatever. I'm like, all those things are true. Those are things that I or nobody really can debate. I don't think he's the greatest, but, he's one of the greatest of all time, and he's won all these championships, MVPs. He is the king for a reason. But, like, that doesn't absolve you from people having opinions about how you're moving. Like, you can say, I can do whatever I want. Say, okay, you can. That doesn't mean your life is going to be easier wherever you go because you move this way. And we talked about the non-love affair that Laker fans had with LeBron. And again, if Philly is the place, I would wonder about what the non-love affair may be with the Sixers and their fan base if he goes there and he comes up badly short. Willie, I don't know. That's a pretty good team. Him, JB, Edgecombe, Maxey, and B for the 30, 40 games in the regular season, however many playoff games he can play. It's a pretty damn good team. I'm a Knicks person, a team that, Knicks fan, which I am, somebody that is hoping the team can go back-to-back, win the East again. I look at that team and say that's extremely formidable. That's a very good starting five. Maybe not the best shooting starting five, but a team that has a ton of talent, ton of scoring, athleticism. They check all the boxes for a lot of the things that you would want. It's a good team. You wonder if some of this stuff just, again, is going to end up kind of like precluding other look at me, I versus team kind of attitudes that, again, I promise you will turn off the city of Philadelphia. I promise you. I'm from New York, but I've lived in Pennsylvania. I've worked at 94 WIP. I've lived in Philadelphia. I know what the city is like. This stuff, they'll put up with it because they want him there. But if he signs eventually, and he goes there and he's subpar, or he's not playing up to par, or he's doing the LeBron passive-aggressive thing, they're going to go back to this. They're going to go right back to, well, it took him forever to come here. He clearly didn't want to be here. This is what they're going to do. That's just who they are. That's the truth. Again, We could live in fantasy land. We could live in reality. So I'm curious what's gonna happen with LeBron. But as of right now, it seems like nothing's really going on that front. It's 40 days and counting with your boy EJ Stewart, streaming live multiple spots. Once again, live on YouTube, New Generation Media. We got John Lean in the chat. John Lean saying, yo, what's up? What's up with you, John Lean? I feel like I haven't seen you in the chat in a little bit. Thanks for joining the show. Again, if you want to engage with the show, you can, of course, jump into the YouTube chat, jump into Instagram, where we're on IG Live, Action EJ. We got John Lean was on Instagram as well, so shout out to him there. We also have Jose Alvaro, not to be confused with Jose Alvarado, but no, Jose Alvaro, also on IG, checking me out at some point during the show. So thank you to the guys on IG and the folks on IG who checked out this show. Of course, you can check out Instagram Live Action EJ to find this show streaming live there. Good news today, we are streaming live on X, which has been a problem for pretty much the last 2 weeks, where we tried to go live on X and nothing was working out. So really happy to be able to be on X today. Shout out to the folks that are checking me out right now. I'm going to repost the link so if people want to watch it, they can watch me live on X. So shout out to the folks on X. Again, don't know why we haven't been able to give it a go for the past few weeks, but today everything worked out smooth. Let's hope that maybe those issues are behind them. Again, if you want to follow me on X, just follow me, EJ_Stewart. And of course, streaming live on Buzzer. Download the Buzzer mobile app or go to bzzr.com and sign up. All sports, no frills. You want to avoid a lot of that engagement nonsense and bots and crap that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the ESPN layoffs. Buzzer is the place you want to go to. By the way, I got to give a round of applause to Buzzer. In fact, we got to give them a little bit of a congrats. Congrats to Buzzer, because they announced last week that you can now also watch Texas Rangers games live on Buzzer. So if you are a Texas Ranger fan, or if you're a Major League Baseball fan, regardless of whatever it is, maybe you just love Major League Baseball, maybe you want to see what's going on with the Rangers, you can now, if you're a member on Buzzer, you can now watch the Rangers, which is really, really cool. I mean, this is a kind of not a once in a blue moon kind of thing, or not a one of one kind of deal, but it is pretty special to have a specific social media platform that is broadcasting games live for one of the teams in Major League Baseball. So that's really, really exciting stuff. So if you're a fan of Buzzer and you're a fan of the Rangers, that's where you're going to want to make sure you check it out, because again, all games for the Texas Rangers that are aired locally will now also be streamed via Buzzer. So once again, give a round of applause to my friends over there on the Buzzer team, Buzzer fan. Shout out to everybody over there. Let's keep moving. Let's talk about Tom Brady. So we go from one perspective GOAT to another. This is a different sport, of course. Tom Brady is reportedly, according to TMZ, in talks with WWE to be a part of their entertainment product, as he, for the past several months, but this picked up a ton this weekend, has been teasing a feud with WWE's Logan Paul. So this actually began months ago, and maybe you'll remember this. This was around, I think this was Super Bowl week, when they had that like celebrity. No, this wasn't Super Bowl week. I remember when like we had the fantasy. We've had a couple of these flag football games, and Tom Brady is playing flag football. At one point, we had like the Team USA guys of flag football like destroying NFL players. I don't think this was that. It might have been, but I'm not 100% sure. But it might have been that event or during one of those events. So this had to be like, again, February, January. I talked about this on the show. During that, like, Tom Brady and Logan Paul, like, kind of were getting into it, because Logan Paul was one of the guys that was playing in the celebrity, fantasy football thing. So they were getting into it on the field. And Tom Brady, it may be before or after, I forgot what the order of operations was. He also then started making disparaging comments about wrestling. He thought wrestling was kind of like for losers. I think he said something like that. And Logan Paul has kind of been poking at Tom various different points up until this. Like, they had been having a little bit of a back and forth via social media for a while. And then it came to more of a head this weekend with Fanatics Fest and the World Cup. Because at Fanatics Fest, Tom Brady and Logan Paul ended up having some kind of face-off. I don't know why, to be honest. I have no idea why. I mean, everybody's there, so I guess They could have been at the same event, I don't know. But they end up having some kind of face-off on the stage where everybody's watching, the cameras are on, so it doesn't suggest it's the most organic thing, but this is what happened. And Tom Brady eventually smacks Logan Paul. Just smacks him across the head. And that they have to be separated or whatever, and then Logan Paul is then at the World Cup, and he's seated near Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's giving him the finger, and Logan Paul's being held back. So, I mean, if you pay attention at all to wrestling and wrestling promotion, this is like pretty much right out of the most obvious playbook of building some kind of feud up, especially with a celebrity, by bringing in elements where they're interacting outside of a wrestling ring. And I don't know if this was something that happened organically or when Tom Brady made the comments about wrestling, that this was something that they've been building up for a while. But Logan Paul is a WWE star. He is, of course, a YouTube star as well. And Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He's one of the most famous professional athletes we have in America. Former athletes now we have in America. So this apparently is something that is maybe in the works and something we'll see from Tom Brady. Some kind of feud involving him with the WWE and wrestling and Logan Paul. I gotta be honest about this, man. I feel like I clocked this early. I think a lot of people are starting to jump on the bandwagon. I think maybe this was like the tipping point. But I said this a while ago, man. Like the Tom Brady post-playing career movements have just not gone the way I hoped they would have gone. He has come across as somebody who is like very much addicted to attention, very much addicted to cameras on him. He's come across as a little midlife crisis-y when it comes to like his need to be in the spotlight. And he's doing it in ways that just feel very beneath a GOAT. And you guys know I am a wrestling fan, so I'm not here to disparage the WWE or disparage the profession and, dare I say, art form that is wrestling. But there is an aspect of like wrestling that is kind of sideshowy, and this is not something that you would anticipate someone like Tom Brady being associated with. Now, listen, the Knicks just had a bunch of their stars at the last event: Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns at MSG, and it seemed like it went really well, and the pops for them were awesome. And Jalen Brunson's the Finals MVP, so if he can do it, then why? I guess in theory, why can't Tom Brady? But what it just feels to me like Tom Brady is trying to get his lick back from all the attention and money and opportunities that he passed up on when he was playing. Like, obviously, if he ever wanted to get involved with doing business with Logan Paul, that's something that Bill Belichick would have frowned upon. If he ever wanted to, do 3 or 4 multiple, get involved in flag football in the offseason, that's something Bill Belichick would have frowned upon. Like, all these things that Tom Brady keeps finding himself involved with, all the different companies and all different promotions, like, this is all stuff that he really kind of stiff on for a lot of his career, because it, quote-unquote, wasn't the Patriot way. And it wasn't part of the TB12 way. And it just feels like for somebody who was a family man, somebody who was a football man, and I think he was like a legit family and football man. Like, I don't know what his personal life is, of course, but he was not somebody that was out here in these streets, not publicly. Like, he just wasn't. And a lot of his teammates would say one of the things that about Tom Brady that like made him beloved by his teammates was that he really acted like one of the guys. And I think he's trying to get that over by showing just how willing he is to be, unbuttoned and kind of, laissez-faire and just I'm being cool. Like, again, the roast, like he's doing these things that, again, he never would have ever considered and been a part of, because he had a higher responsibility as the quarterback for the Patriots, eventually also the Bucs, and as being Tom Brady. And it's almost like he's trying to show, like, this is who the people who were behind the scenes saw all the time, but you guys never saw that, and I need to monetize that. I need to capitalize off of that, because, like, damn it, like, there's a lot of money I left on the table potentially by not doing that. But what I think he doesn't understand is, well, you didn't do that because those things would have potentially hurt you on the field. Like, you being distracted and you not, being locked into what it took to make sure the Patriots were good, or the Bucs were as good as they're going to be, or your receivers were as in tune as they need to be with you in terms of the off-season work or in terms of you having to be at your peak abilities, that all, you don't become the guy who WWE and comedy and Netflix and all these people want to have a piece of if you don't have that level of dedication. So all of this stuff now just feels like such a far right turn that it's a little off-putting. I said it on the show, like he just strikes me as somebody that is trying to be. I don't like guys that are trying to be moguls, that are trying to be people who are the end all be all when it comes to media. Like it strikes me as somebody who, again, there's a level of I don't think or know if he's a narcissism, but it strikes me with a level of just self-importance, I guess is a better word to put it. Like there's a self-importance he's putting on himself that we just need to have him part of a roast. We need to have him in wrestling. Like, I don't need Tom Brady in a lot of my life, to be honest. I actually really enjoy him doing games on Fox every week. I think he's gotten a lot better. I think he gets crap for it. I think because it's just cool to crap on Brady. Like, his first year wasn't great. I didn't think he was terrible, though. He seemed okay. But he wasn't great, but whatever. I thought last year he was great. I thought, like, the last 2 years, I think he was great. Like, I thought, the first year was rough, but the last 2 years, I thought the Super Bowl he did 2 years ago, Chiefs versus Eagles, I thought he was phenomenal. Like, he's become a very good broadcaster. I'm very much welcoming him in that light. I welcome him when it comes to wanting to talk football or wanting to talk just sports in general or just what it means to be great at what you do. All that stuff I'm open for. I don't know. I never wanted, like, Michael Jordan to get in the wrestling ring. Like, I never wanted Michael Jordan. I asked Dennis Rodman to do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because for Dennis Rodman, that matched his public persona. It matched his public persona to want to, body slam Diamond Dallas Page or want to low blow, Diamond Dallas Page or Jay Leno or something like that. Like, that made sense. Like, this doesn't feel like it makes sense for Tom Brady. Like, nothing in his public persona that would make me interested in seeing him fight Logan Paul on any level. Like, none. Do you guys have any interest in this? Like, is this in any way serving you? Like, we're all in the entertainment business. So if you can entertain, that's what wrestling's about at the end of the day. If you can entertain, that's all that matters. Do you find this entertaining? Even wrestling fans. Like, as a wrestling fan, I'm like, I have zero interest in this. Like, he's not going to get that physical. He's not that charismatic. Like, he's good as a football talker. I think he's good in terms of, he's obviously a charismatic leader. You wouldn't be if you wouldn't be that awesome on the field. And I think he's good when he comes to, again, he's talking about, like, athletes and sports and stuff. He's very charismatic with that. But, like, again, the roast, wrestling, all this other stuff, I'm like, he's not that. He's not Dennis Rodman. He's not Charles Barkley. He's not those people. So, like, it feels like he's trying to force himself into being one of those guys without being that entertaining or that funny, and then also just being all places at once. And once again, I go back to what I've said a bunch is, this Raider thing is not going to work. This guy is a part owner of the Raiders, and he's supposed to be a guy who kind of has final say on everything. The guy wants to get in a wrestling ring with Logan Paul and play flag football and do roast and do this. Like, he wants to do everything all at once. Like, I just think he's doing too much, man. And, like, I'm dead ass. I hope he's good. I really do. Like, he had a very public divorce, and his ex-wife seemed to kind of just move on and is out of the spotlight, basically. Like, and he is just constantly in the spotlight, constantly at every event, every party, it seems like. Everything where somebody's got to be there, he wants to make sure he's there. He's taking pictures with everybody. He's very much outside, as they say. It's starting to become a little off-putting. Like, or not starting. It's been off-putting for me pretty much since the roast. But it continues to be off-putting because he doesn't stop. He can't stop. Like, I don't want, like, a social media video of him giving, like, Logan Paul the finger sitting in the crowd of, like, the FIFA World Cup. It's just, it makes me want to throw up. Like, that sentence makes me want to throw up. Think about that. Tom Brady in a box at the World Cup flipping off Logan Paul as he is in talks with WWE about creating a wrestling feud. Like, come on, man. That sounds insane. That sounds like an Onion article. That doesn't even sound real. That sounds so beneath Tom Brady. If I told you this is what he was going to be doing 5 years ago when he was still playing, You would have said, what? That's what we got from Tom Brady? He's going to be in a wrestling ring? He's going to be feuding with Logan Paul? That's the best no, you got other stuff. He's running the Raiders and he's doing the obviously the Fox stuff on Fox. But I'm like, this was his big move afterwards? It's wildly disappointing to me, man. It really is. A couple more things, man, before we get out of here. It ended up being a little bit of a shorter show. But I do want to get to a few more things, man. I want to get on one thing, actually. I'm a freestyle here. It's not something that I've written, but something I read right before I came on. I was trying to figure out things I wanted to talk about. I thought about putting it in the show, but I didn't. But I was like, I'll talk about this now. SEC Media Days this week. So you're starting to see, Greg Sankey kind of had his opening statement yesterday, and then the coaches are talking this week. And I'll be honest, this is, in my opinion, a huge season for the SEC. This might be the most important season for the SEC conference that it has had in maybe 20 to 30, 40, maybe 50 years. Because Greg Sankey in his opening press conference made comments speaking to what he says is the real threat of the SEC breaking off from the NCAA because of issues it has with the rules regarding the college football playoff, rules regarding NIL, rules regarding the House settlement, how they were going to be policing revenue sharing. There's a ton of issues the SEC has. Some of it may kind of bore you to death, but a lot of the intricacies of how college football works, the SEC is not happy with because they feel like they are the big dogs on the block, and they feel like they deserve a lot more transparency when it comes to how NIL works for other teams and other conferences. They feel like they deserve more spots when it comes to the tournament that is the college football playoff. There's just a lot of things SEC is not happy with the just standard of how college football is right now, and there's real talk about maybe them saying, you know what, we'll take our ball and go home. We'll just leave the NCAA. You guys try to figure out doing a college football playoff by yourself, and we'll just do our own season, and that'll be it. And we'll just be totally fine. It's basically, not to be too on the nose, but it's like you're seceding from the rest of college football and doing your own thing. That is apparently on the table, according to Greg Sankey, that because a lot of their issues have not been quelched, that this is something that they're seriously talking about. They have no leg to stand on with this. Like, to me, all this being and moaning, it is just, it falls on such deaf ears. And I think they're doing it more, and they're speaking louder, and they're trying to be more squeaky wheel gets oil about their issues right now, because they know the facade that they had over, not facade, the cloak that they had over the world regarding in the football world, regarding what the SEC was compared to the rest of college football. They now know it's starting to show its true colors. This mirage that was of the SEC, it being, quote, different, and it being so much better than everyone else, they can't lay claim to that right now. And they can't lay claim to that because the last 3 years, you had 3 different teams from an entirely different conference win the national championship. The college football playoff was built in part because you wanted to, well, number one was make a lot of money. That's really the only reason. But the other, athletic reasons was because you wanted to really be able to parse out a true champion by seeing the best teams play the best in a single elimination format. The idea that you were only going to have 4 teams, or before with the BCS, just 2 teams playing a 1-game situation. There was no way to figure out exactly who the top teams were. You should let them all play it out on the field. And as we've been now letting people play it out on the field, we're seeing more and more that the SEC may not really be like that the way they say they are. The last 2 years, there hasn't been an SEC team even in the college football final. Well, no, 3 years in a row, actually, I'm sorry. Because you had Michigan, Washington. You had Ohio State versus Notre Dame. And then you had Indiana versus Miami. And all 3 matches the Big Ten teams won. But within that, you had a Pac-12 team that the conference doesn't exist anymore. You had a Pac-12 team. You had an independent team. And then you had an ACC team that was in the college football playoff final. SEC was nowhere to be found. Not only have they not won a college football playoff, they haven't even been in the final. So, a lot of this talk about they're going to secede, they're going to create their own league, they better do what we want them to do or else. Like, I'm sorry. I think a lot of this looks silly. I think what we're learning, I think a lot of the rest of the college football world starting to open their eyes to like, oh, wait a minute. Like, when Alabama was winning all the time and Florida was winning all the time and some of the same schools that we can see were winning all the time, Georgia was winning all the time. Like, there was an idea that, oh, like this speaks to the strength of the entire conference. When that is not the case. It never was the case, in my opinion. Like, there's this idea that, oh, like, you don't know how hard it is to go to Starkville on a Saturday night. I'm like, no, it is not that hard. I'm sorry, it's not. Like, there are a lot of really good teams at the top of the SEC, and the depth in the top of the SEC is real. But the facade they keep trying to present to you guys, this phoniness that somehow top to bottom there is this elite talent everywhere and they're so much better. We're seeing that that's not true. We've seen these teams perform. We saw Miami last year beat 2 SEC teams. One of them they had to go on the road to beat in the college football playoff. We've seen Notre Dame beat an SEC team to get to the college football playoff final. Like, we've seen this before. We saw Michigan beat an SEC team to get to the college football final and win the national championship. We saw Ohio State pummel an SEC team in the first round a couple years ago. Like, you miss me with all this SEC stuff. Like, they got to show it on the field. Like, shout out to Keontae Scott, who's now in the NFL, who obviously played the Kings last year. That's saying, too much talking on the net, do it on the field. That's what I feel about the SEC. Too much talking on the net, do it on the field. You want to show that you guys are so much more powerful than everybody else and therefore deserve to have rules that are more in line with your favor? Then go out there and actually win a national championship. Get to a conference, a college football playoff final. You can't keep trying to bully people around and push people around and say it's our way or the highway, and when you're not even producing the best college football teams. You're clearly not. You have not won a college football playoff in 4 years, and this has been the stretch where it's been the expanded run. Like, when there was no expanded college football playoff, they keep pointing to, well, look at who we're playing. We're playing all. It was propaganda. It was like we're playing ourselves, and trust me, we're the best. Trust us. And we just kind of had no choice but to trust them because, like, well, Alabama's there and Georgia's there. So, I mean, yeah, those guys, if they're having some close games or whatever, then we got to respect the whole conference. They must be pretty good because those teams keep killing everybody when they get to the final. But, again, now you getting a lot of a closer look at what it is. And the reality is what happened with the fact that now we have NIL and the house settlement is it's leveling the playing field. Now there are other teams that can spend money. There was a time when there was not any of this stuff, where I think the SEC maybe enjoyed the ability to push. I'm not even talking about the $1,000 handshakes or money under the table. I mean, they were able to push like the fact that they had the best facilities, that they had the best stadiums, that they had the best atmospheres. Like, they were able to push things that other teams like just couldn't push because they didn't have that. They didn't have that tradition. They didn't have that culture. Where SEC football, we know, is life down there. Like, we could talk about whether it's different on the field in terms of the talent, but it's definitely different in terms of atmosphere. They could push those things and the money in the facilities. Like, they could push the money, even not even going player to player, just the money in the infrastructure, the money in the apparatus to bring the best talent and to bring the most attention. But once NIL came into it, it threw everything off. Because now all you need is Mark Cuban to be an Indiana alum and say, yeah, I want to be good at football. Like, we're spending money on basketball, it's not getting us anything. Maybe we should spend money in football. And he can just, they find the right coach, they find the right level of recruits and transfers. And all of a sudden, Indiana, who's been a laughingstock in college football, now they're a college football champion. Now they're dogging SEC teams. Like, all it takes is for Miami, who had been trying to give money to people under the table allegedly for years, and then had got popped various different times. It's a school that doesn't have a lot of money for its own infrastructure when it comes to a stadium and all that kind of stuff. But they got people in South Florida have money. Like, if it's comes to getting players, they've always been able to do that. If they've been allowed to do the things that they want to do, they've always been able to do that. They just needed the wherewithal and the belief in a coach that could sell division. And now they have that, and now they're killing SEC teams. So I think the real game that's happening right now is the SEC knows time is running out. If they don't find a way to get the stuff that they want now, they know every year that goes by, their leverage continues to plummet. So they have to keep yelling and screaming even more. Like, I remember, like, I've covered this same story with the SEC for the last 2-3 years at Maggie and Perloff. This is around the time I'm used to doing Maggie and Perloff shows. We're talking about SEC media days and stuff. And this is the same conversation I'd have with my friends Maggie Gray and Andrew Perloff and Andrew Bogish and before Pete Pilati and now Manny Rodriguez. Like, that was a conversation we had every year. And every year I said the same thing. Is this, like, just saying SEC is better just because is at a certain point they're not going to be able to get away with that anymore. And I think they are realizing that now. Because these rules that have been put in place, or for they will say the lack thereof rules, has just made the playing field a lot more even. So all of this, we deserve this and we deserve that, and not saying, well, we'll go away. I'm like, you guys want to go away and do your own playoff? Nothing about that playoff and season is going to be legitimized as them being the best team. Like, it's not. You go and do your own thing and say we're only going to play each other, and that's fine. I mean, I'll watch. I want to see some of the best players. I'll check it out. But am I going to be invested in, like, oh, like, this now determines who the best team in college football is? No. What? Not even close. Because you guys have had an opportunity to win on the field, play against these other teams, and you haven't gotten it done. I saw Kirby Smart spoke today. They have won 2 straight SEC titles. They're trying to go for a 3rd straight. That'd be the first time since 2016 when Nick Saban's Alabama did it from 14 to 16. And he said, among a lot of things that, and I want to be fair because sometimes people pull quotes and you're not giving the full context. He said, listen, like, we got to play better and bigger in the bigger moments. Like, for whatever reason, they've come up really small in the college football playoff for the last several years. And he emphasized a need to bring the physicality that they play with during the regular season into the playoff, and again to live up to the moment of the college football playoff. But the other thing he mentioned as well is he talked about how, well, the other issue is, we got this 25 to 30 day layoff between when you win the SEC to win your first round, or rather your quarterfinal playoff game is, because right now with the way the quarterfinal works, the quarterfinal is a week after, even more, maybe a week and a half after the first round games. So the first round games that happen, teams get to play, they get lathered up, and then the SEC team that won their conference, certainly top 4, they haven't played since 25 to 30 days before. He says, I don't know any sport where your most important games, there's a 30-day layoff. Which I say to him is, at the end of the day, though, that didn't stop Michigan from winning a national championship last year. Yes, Ohio State won it a couple years ago, but didn't stop Michigan, didn't stop Indiana. Like, both of those teams played on the exact same day that the SEC played their championship. Or one day before, I think. They played Friday night, right? They played one day before. Those teams had one day before. They were the number 1 overall seeds, both Michigan and Indiana. And they walked through the tournament and were fine. In fact, Indiana had to play Alabama, who had won a game against the SEC the week before, who, again, was lathered up, ready to go. In theory, that should have been an upset alert game for Indiana, and they routed Alabama at the Rose Bowl. So, and listen, maybe it's a Georgia football issue. Like, that's, maybe they're not doing well with the long layoff or how they conduct themselves. They're going to have to make the adjustment, whatever the adjustment they got to do. But even that, even being brought up as a potential excuse for why the SEC champion hasn't been in the college football final the last 2 years in a row. I didn't even like that. I'm like, no, you guys have had opportunities, man. Like, you lost last couple years ago. You lost in the conference. You lost in the quarterfinal. You lost to Notre Dame in the quarterfinal, and that was a weird stuff happening. You had, the terror attack in New Orleans, so the game got delayed. There was some weird stuff that happened, but still, you lost in the first round a couple years ago, basically. So I'm just done with the SEC propaganda, man. Like, you're running out of talking points. We don't believe you. You need more people. Anyway, let's keep moving. Couple more things, man, before I get out of here. Staying on football. I'm excited about this. Well, I'm excited, but there's a lot to be said about it. So, the New York Jets, my beloved NFL football team, announced that they are unveiling new uniforms this year. And when I say uniforms, really it's only the helmet, but it's a new uniform look, because the Jets this year, for their home opener on September, I believe 28th. I want to say 28th, 26th, one of those days. They will be playing the Green Bay Packers at MetLife Stadium, and they will be wearing these uniforms. This is the official now new Jets whiteout look, where you got the white helmet there, as you can see. You got the Jets insignia across, got the green stripe over, and you got the all white uniform, white pants with the white jersey. That is their typical white jersey that they wear. It's a cool look. I'll be honest. I mean, I love new uniforms, and I love the New York Jets, and I'm open to all different changes to the Jets uniforms because they've been kind of bad for a while. I like this generation of new uniforms. I thought I would like this more. I'll be honest. A lot of Jet fans were really excited about this uniform. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I would change. I just feel like the white lettering and the green helmet or the green background just pops a lot better with the Jets insignia than like the green Jet words and the white on it. I don't know. This sounded like a great idea, but like the execution of it, I don't know. I wanted to like this more. I don't dislike it. I'm open for it, and I'm happy. Now I'll be excited to watch it. Maybe it'll look better on the field, but like to be honest, like, and I'm somebody that was all for them changing the old uniform that they had not the Sam Darnold uniforms, the ones before that, the ones that Mark Sanchez and Chad Pennington, those guys wore. I was all for like moving on from those uniforms. I thought they were a little dated, but like I think that still is one of the best Jets helmets. Like that, if you're gonna do a white helmet, to not have like the old school white logo, and they have a throwback helmet too, and a throwback shirt uniform that has that logo. I thought that maybe this would work better with this one, but I don't think it did. I'll be real. I was like, it's cool. Again, I'm excited to see how it looks on the field. I'll be excited to see, hopefully the fans will support the whiteout and really make it a whiteout atmosphere for the game. And I'll say this, man, if the Jets win, if they upset the Green Bay Packers at home, then I would be all for the whiteout being a part of the Jets thing to look forward to every year, where every year they have a whiteout game. I think that'd be really fun. There's not a lot of soul at MetLife Stadium. Now the team sucks, so that doesn't bring a lot of soul. But whether it's the Jets or Giants, there's not a lot of character. There's not a lot of anything special about the stadium. So I think the Jets and the Giants should be open to any of these kind of promotions. So I do think it's a good idea to bring something, some level of juice, some level of even novelty is fine for a stadium that doesn't really have much, for a home field advantage that doesn't feel like it really brings much of anything. I like the idea of creating a special event, even behind a uniform. So that part of it, I'm all for. I don't know what I would change for the white helmet. I think there's something else they could have done. I feel like maybe they got a little too simple. Like maybe part of me wonders maybe they should have removed the green stripe down the middle. This is what I get when it comes to sports uniforms. I'm very, very particular, and I have very big thoughts on them. But but it's cool that they're going to be doing this. It's odd they're doing it against the Packers. The Packers have the white hot cheddar night when they do the all white with the white helmet and the fans come in all white. The Bengals have their all white game, which is I think one of the best atmospheres that we have in the NFL this year. So those games are awesome at Lambeau and at Paul Brown Stadium. So if they want to do this, I'm all for it. I'm curious what you think. Do you love the uniforms? The idea of it, I love watching it and seeing it. I'm just like, I don't know. I thought the helmet would look cooler. That was just my initial thought on it, man. But shout out to the Jets. Hopefully, this will be a much better year than the years they've had in recent years. Last thing, man, before we get out of here, we gotta talk about this Avengers Doomsday trailer. Came out. That's a weird formatting. Let's see. Maybe I can fix that. Had a weird day with the lower thirds today, as you've seen. They did not come out the way they were supposed to. Is this gonna work? It doesn't look like it. All right. Well, we tried. Let me just move this to the center then. But anyway, so Avengers Doomsday. You got the first trailer. It comes out yesterday. It's had a huge response on social media, where you've had over 500 views in a 24-hour time period for the trailer. It continues to be one of the trending topics on all social media platforms. I posted 2 different kind of funny posts about Avengers Doomsday in the trailer, and like I have one post that has over 1 million views, another one that has tens of thousands of views. Like, people are invested in this, and this is definitely the talk of the town right now, or talk of the country or the world right now. And we talked about this at length on my New Generation Hero Talk podcast. That's a Marvel DC podcast I do with my brothers Shamari and Kendall Stewart. That's right here on New Generation Media. If you like that stuff, make sure you watch that episode on YouTube on New Generation Media. You can listen to that podcast. Just go to New Generation Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. Check that out. We had a really fun, awesome conversation. But as I think about where we are with this trailer a day ahead, and I said it yesterday, and I think it's true, man, the hype is palpable. People are making their jokes about the fact that this is, a AC type Avengers squad. People make their joke that they don't know who some of these Avengers are because maybe they didn't see Thunderbolts, maybe they didn't watch, Falcon and Winter Soldier, or Captain America. They didn't watch some of these movies, so they are not as familiar with some of these talents and some of these heroes, and they're facing a hero who is very well known. Like, everybody knows who Dr. Doom is, even if they don't really know why he's being played by Robert Downey Jr. and why this is the form for him to be introduced and not a movie involving the Fantastic Four exclusively. But he's very visible and he's very recognizable. So that part of it seems to get over. It also seems to have gotten over the idea that what we've seen from Robert Downey so far has excited people. I thought the trailer did a good job of definitely billing him as the greatest threat to the Marvel heroes that we've seen thus far. So it was a huge win. Robert Downey has a little bit of early dialogue in this movie, and I think he sounds extremely well. Some people have joked about his accent. I think he sounds like an awesome Doom. Like, I think that my biggest concern was that he will either sound really goofy in terms of like trying to do some European accent and not do it well, or he will sound too much like Robert Downey / Tony Stark, and therefore like maybe they would be leaning in fully into the fact that he is the same actor that played Tony Stark. And they may still do that, but they did not do that at all in this trailer. There is no shots at all of him without his mask, so we don't know what he looks like still. There's nothing about him in this that is recognizable to him being, Iron Man. So for that, I thought that was a major win for Marvel. I thought overall the trailer was, I said it was okay, and that's kind of how I feel. Like, I thought it was okay to good. Like, was it this mind-blowing thing? No. Some of that, as I kind of reflect on how I felt about the trailer, I wonder stems from so many of these leaks. Like, this trailer that came out yesterday was essentially the same trailer that the people who were at CinemaCon saw. So some of these images, like Cyclops, on his knees, taking off the visor and, using his optic blast against what we think are Sentinels. Some people are wondering if they're Doombots, but the Sentinels are Doombots. Cyclops with the optic blast, and some of the shots of Doom, like some of these things we kind of have seen, do grainy footage from somebody's cell phone, and they've been out there for a little while. That I wonder if I was Marvel, I may have done a different trailer maybe to show new footage that was not that trailer, or mix in something along the same lines. Like the Steve Rogers appearance was in the first trailer too, I believe too. So some of the stuff that had been rumored already, we already heard, and we got the details from. So none of it was all that surprising. Maybe if he didn't have that, it would have felt a little better. But that was kind of the feel like I was like, okay, it's cool. It was a good trailer. It wasn't not a disaster at all. And it, again, I think it's been, even the people that are like dissing it or trying to like have fun with it, I think they're still talking about it in a major way. So again, it has been overall well received. I'm still though curious about how this movie's gonna come together, because they are trying to land a lot of planes. You're bringing in the OG X-Men. From the trailer that I saw, it looked like you're gonna be seeing, basically this movie centered around 3 worlds: the world of the Fantastic Four, which kind of may already be over. That's actually an interesting thing. Let me actually pull that back, because you see that picture on the wall that had Reed Richards showing. And actually, I may have that picture. I might be able to just throw it up real quick. Let's see if I can. We had the picture on the wall that had Reed Richards behind it and like the Fantastic Four behind it. And that was clearly them showing like, what is basically going to be potentially the end of the, what are the actual 3 Earths that we're dealing with. You presume one of them is Earth 616, where all the heroes have assembled. No pun intended. One of them you assume is the X-Men world, because that's one of the worlds you know that we are going to. That's the world that includes Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and Gambit and Cyclops and Nightcrawler, who wasn't in this trailer but is in the movie. And then the other one you assume was Fantastic Four, but Fantastic Four were seen on a ship leaving that world. So I'm actually now curious if they were escaping that. Like, have they already left, and that was why that we saw them there? Like, I don't know for sure. I thought I had this picture ready available, but I guess I don't. I thought I could pull it up quickly. Let me see. What's this picture? This is it. I'll pull it. If not, then I won't. That is not it. Yeah. So that was all right. So whatever. Anyway, you guys have seen the trailer. If you haven't, check it out. But I think this is it. Actually, I'm actually gonna risk it and just throw this up. I think this is it. Nope, that's not it. That was not the picture I wanted, which is why I shouldn't have done that. Okay, now this one I know is it. So you'll see this picture. Now you'll know what I'm talking about. So there you go. So this was like one of the big shots in the trailer. And you see behind there, you got the three Earths that are linked together. I assume this was, Reed Richards probably breaking down exactly what is going on with these worlds that are colliding. We're having these incursions, which is going to set off the Secret Wars event that's going to come together next year for next year's movie. And here, we're assuming these three worlds there. You got one globe layer on top, one globe on the right side, and one globe behind Reed and Sue. We assume those three worlds are the three worlds that are encompassing much of this movie. That are, again, the Fantastic Four's world, which I assume is kaput because they've left that world and now they're on 616, the 616 world, and the X-Men world. But again, I kind of wonder if the Fantastic Four world is already over, and maybe that's a whole different Earth that they're having to discuss. Because why would you put an Earth on there that doesn't exist anymore on the screen? That to me doesn't make any sense. So there are a lot of questions, right? Like, how are they gonna manage traveling through most of these worlds? I will say this: I'm excited about the movie. I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be the biggest movie that Marvel has done since Avengers and Endgame. So, and it's the most consequential one because it is the lead up to the post Secret Wars world where, well, first of all, it's the lead up to Secret Wars. That already is big, but also it's the beginning of the lead up to the post Secret Wars world where the mutants are active. Like, this is a movie where we actually have X-Men characters in it, albeit not the MCU's X-Men, so to speak. Once we get past this movie and Secret Wars, then you get all the X-Men characters. So that's going to be, obviously, a huge, huge thing. That is the next big phase for Marvel, and that's the next saga, which I am almost certain will be named the Mutant Saga moving forward. So we got San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. I think that you're going to see some major announcements. I actually saw... I'll pull up the tweet I saw earlier today. So Feige had mentioned basically that, they're doing a holidays panel because they got stuff to talk about, basically. There was a time when it seemed like Marvel and DC kind of would do Hall H just whenever, and that time has not really been the case anymore. Like, there's some years they've skipped out. DC is skipping out this year, but Kevin Feige said, quote, "When we go to Hall H, it's for a reason, and it's to have some surprises and show a few things." So I expect some major announcements at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. That's going to be on Saturday evening. I'll be live on the Fan, by the way. Not necessarily covering San Diego Comic-Con. I'll be talking New York sports. But I'll be on the Fan, by the way. You can check me out 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday night as well. So while you're watching and seeing all the details of San Diego Comic-Con on social media, also head over to the Odyssey app and or 101.9 FM if you're in the New York area and listen to your boy on WFAN. But, for Feige to even go this far and say we have some surprises and something and want to show a few things, that tells me that, okay, there's something big coming. Because they did the announcement, they did the trailer today. Like, the trailer would have been the biggest thing you could have shown, was a trailer for Doomsday. Now, I know this is the older trailer. So, okay, they'll probably show a newer trailer for San Diego Comic-Con. Fine. That we can understand. But that's not going to be the biggest thing you see is a trailer for San Diego Comic-Con that we didn't see. That it's only going to be showed to the exclusive audience there. They're going to announce something huge. I think they're going to announce an X-Men movie release date. And I think at the very minimum, we're going to get some X-Men casting news. Will you have a whole team? Maybe not. I think you're going to get a few people that will be signed on. I think you'll have your Professor X. You'll have your Jean Grey and Sadie Stink, who I think may be there at San Diego Comic-Con. I think she may be announced as Sadie Stink. And I think maybe you get whoever Adam Driver is playing. There's been rumors. Is he playing Magneto? Is he playing Mr. Sinister? We talked about that on this show. I think at minimum, those are the three people you will see cast. X-Men announcement is going to be made. And I think we're now in officially the buckle up stage of Marvel. They've kind of been in this holding pattern as they almost basically had to crawl to get to Secret Wars. We're now getting to Secret Wars in just a year and Doomsday now in 6 months. And now they can start to let the purse strings go a little bit and let some people in on the ideas that they have moving forward. Because right now we've been in a full guessing game for years now about what that's going to look like. So can't wait to see Doomsday. Can't wait for San Diego Comic-Con. And next week, by the way, there was a new trailer dropped for Spider-Man today. Next weekend as well, you're going to have the Spider-Man movie coming out. So that's going to be something to talk about as well. So fun stuff, man. That's going to do it, though. Thanks so much for checking out this edition of 40 Days and Counting, streaming live, multiple spots. Of course, if you enjoyed this show, be sure to check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media, while you're there. Also, give us a like, give us a comment. All those things help. Follow me on X, EJ_Studio, where we're also streaming live. Follow me on Instagram, ActionEJ, where we're also streaming live. And follow me on Buzzer, EJ205 Prep. Make sure, again, once again, you follow us on social media for New Generation Media, New Generation Pod on X, and New Generation Podcast on Instagram. That'll do it for now. I'll be back on Friday, 8 a.m. Be there or be square. I'm EJ Stewart. Later, guys.